Hello artists. So today's video was actually, the idea was given to me by someone who DM'd me on Instagram. So thank you to those all DMing me, giving me feedback in the comments as well, because it helps feed ideas for new videos. So today I'm going to be talking about one of the things I kind of felt a bit lost with in my own degree, regarding what do you do when you're coming to the end of your degree / post-degree job, career direction. How do you even find that direction? And does a fine art degree even set you up with any kind of foundational base that you can think about or feel like you're taking a step forward with? So speaking from, I guess, my own experience, I actually graduated in 2018, and obviously this year is 2020. So I haven't got years of experience when it comes to obviously outside education. And for the majority of those 2 years, I actually spent in China, which I know most of you won't be doing and probably won't be going abroad to work, certainly in times like this. But what I have done in those 2 years is obviously speak to a lot of you guys, reflect on what my own fine art degree or BA in painting gave me in terms of direction, and of course what it didn't give. And I feel like in regards to fine arts, because it's just so open-ended and it's like you just do whatever you want to do, it really is slacking in terms of direction or possibly guidance, job guidance, career guidance, any kind of direction, just because I think fine art, the way it's structured is just, it doesn't have structure, if that makes sense, which is good for creativity in a sense. But when it comes to applying things to the real life world, which has structure everywhere, and you need a direction to go in when it comes to, I guess, building a career, this is where I think fine art is slacking quite a lot. And I'm not saying that there aren't opportunities there for fine art students, or universities don't offer sometimes a few workshops or a bit of information here and there on things that you can apply for and look out for. But in terms of anything substantial, which would make a lot of students feel secure in what they should be doing in their final year, thinking about, or what they're going to be doing after they finish their degree, I really think that there isn't much there when it comes to fine art courses and that information. So let me just tell you the reality. If you're a fine art student, obviously you've been taught, you've established a studio practice, you've made some work, you've made some crap work, you've made some good work. Hopefully your degree shows pretty good, but the reality is, unless you're very, very lucky and you're picked up by some kind of commercial gallery who thinks that they can make money out of you, there aren't any companies that are lining up to pay you to obviously continue your studio practice and continue, whether it be exhibiting your artwork or selling your artwork or monetizing your artwork in some way or another. That is all now up to you. So that's just the reality of, in terms of your artistic practice. So obviously when you come out of your degree, that's the end goal. You're the degree where you have a studio space to work in, you're doing your work, and I guess you're paying the university, but that's your life in education. You can't continue that really, unless you've built up a following over your degree and you have all these customers or contacts or this amazing network, which is not anyone that I know from my degree, and I was completely incapable of doing that during my degree. So I don't think there's going to be many people who are going to have a line of customers coming out of their degree to be able to, I guess, support them enough to make enough money. So what do?
Father,
Darling,
I want a house.
of course.
Well, I'll tell you what I wish I did more in my university, and that was to really just use every bloody machine your university has. Every expensive printing machine, whether that be electronic printing or art printing, learn how to bloody cut metal, wood, the rest of it, pick up practical skills. Do all the workshops for Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever your university has in terms of resources that can give you a skill that you can use. This is something I really wish that I did more and kind of was more efficient with my time and just more productive while I had access to those resources in university, because it's those skills that are really actually going to give you a bit of direction and help in the real world. Because one thing that obviously a fine art degree can do, if you're a productive individual, is you can really flourish when it comes to creativity and organizing your creativity, and obviously learning skills that will enable you to express your creativity in different ways. As I said, whether that be through Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, a print machine, doing some kind of sculpture, which can then, learning to use those machines and stuff also can help you produce woodworks, stretchers, do some kind of metal structures, which, down the line might actually secure you some kind of position in a job you might have not thought of before. But companies need certain things, and when you're networking and talking and looking out for different kind of creative opportunities, the more skills you have under your belt, the more comfortable you will be approaching with a kind of portfolio saying like, look, these are the skills I have, let me be helpful to you. Also bear in mind, as a creative type, sometimes your skills can be kind of spread across different kind of things. And let me be a bit more clear about this whole skill thing. Let's just say you rent out good camera equipment from your university because it's cheap, they have the resources, and you can learn how to bloody use a DSLR camera well and use their expensive cameras and lenses and whatnots and really get to grips with using a camera. Now, get good enough, you can produce some films, some short films, whether that be kind of product photography, film, wedding photography, film. Like, once you build up that portfolio and you're good enough, that's the key thing. You got to be good enough. So learn the skill well enough, practice well enough. You can then start to sell your services post-university. Obviously, you would have to learn, okay, you could either, for example, find people on Instagram who are engaged by looking at an engaged hashtag, find out the location, are they near enough to you, drop them a DM, show them the films that you can upload your films to YouTube, put them in a portfolio, make your own personal website. This is just kind of one example how one single skill can open up ways for you to make money. And obviously, like the other option is, of course, you can continue your studio practice if you want, maybe depending on where you are, where you live, rent out a small studio space somewhere and just work a crappy standard job on the side, an entry-level job, which I think obviously not the majority of people would want to do, but if you're really driven when it comes to your artwork and that's what you want to do and you're okay kind of balancing that time and you're fine with that, I think you need to think about what suits you as an individual, what makes you kind of, you need to think about happiness at the same time. You need to think about money. There's kind of a practical way of juggling those things sometimes. And sometimes having a crap job actually gives you more drive when it comes to making your artwork. But there's so much information out there on the internet, whether it be learning new skills, looking at how to independently market yourself and getting into the social media internet game, which I talk about again and again and again, which is what I'm doing here literally as I'm speaking. There's lots of things you need to kind of think about as an individual, because the reason why it's difficult for me to make a video like this is because I can speak individually from my own mindset and kind of thing. And like my end goal is I want a bloody nice studio. I want to sell paintings and make a living. But I know everyone, believe it or not everyone coming out of a fine art degree wants that. Maybe some people want to go into teaching, so their next step might be to do a PGC conversion course, I think that's what it's called, become a teacher and go teach in a school. I would never want to do that. Like after teaching, I can teach adults, but after coming out teaching kids in China, hell no, I love playing with kids, but teaching them is hell. So minus those kind of distraction stories, self-awareness. You need to become aware of what direction you would like to head in as an individual. Think about what skills you can learn and utilize to possibly make some money. Do you want to go and work a less skilled job to then just fund what you really want to do? Or do you want to try and go in a creative direction and find different kind of creative opportunities to make money, but this might take some time to acquire a skill, and then go and actually do that and do the networking and put in the work, whether it becomes networking on social media or doing it locally in your local area. You need to kind of work these things out and think about them and what suits you, as I said, as an individual. But this whole kind of awareness thing, you also need to be aware about what goes on in the art world. Try to obviously keep track of, are there art prizes that you can apply to? Are there residencies in areas close to you or nearby, or somewhere you would like to travel? Obviously, after this epidemic probably goes finally, that will be an easier choice. Do you need to go and save up some money and go do some traveling to, just broaden your horizons, as they would say? Obviously, a lot of this advice doesn't really apply in 2020, but hopefully people will watch this after 2020. But even other things like competitions or submissions, such as the Royal Academy Summer Show here in London, where you submit a painting, and then if you get in, it might get you some exposure, or just one collector might look at your work, and then that's it. You've made a contact, and then from there you can go from one step to the next, to the next, to the next. But coming back to, I guess, the things that I regret I didn't start sooner during university, one of the things I keep saying is this documentation, this trying to establish yourself online, this YouTube channel. I wish I really just started this earlier, because as time goes on, these platforms are only going to get bigger. The competition is only going to increase. So you need to start as soon as you can. And there is never a wrong time to start. Bear in mind, there's so many different ways you can format and choose to communicate, whether that be words, audio, visual. One of the things I couldn't even do believe it or not, when I started recording videos, I couldn't even speak in front of a camera because I used to cringe so much. And now it's quite natural for me to speak in front of a camera. You get used to things. And remember that by creating the content doesn't mean you have to go and put it out on the internet straight away. Sometimes just by starting to document, starting to create, you start to work out how to communicate what you want to communicate. And then whether you feel ready or not, you need to get your stuff out there. You need people to see what you're doing and, really try and build that kind of, I genuinely think that the internet and content creation is the most practical route for any artist if they are interested in kind of selling independently or making a living out of their practice. I genuinely think the internet and content creation and dominating or trying to do well on social media and growing that audience is the most practical route for that kind of end goal. So I hope that I've kind of said some things in this video which make a little bit of sense or give people at least some decent questions to think about. As I said, I've only been a couple years out myself. So as I learn myself as a young artist and work these things out for myself and see what works, what doesn't work, spending money on marketing, not spending money on marketing, social media, what kind of work goes into it, how much you need to produce, I will be releasing as much of this information as I can as I process it myself, and hopefully things are going to work out for this channel and myself, so that it can be an example for anyone coming out of university and wanting kind of a structure to follow, because I feel like that is one thing that fine art does lack, structure. And I feel like a lot of people aren't good at building their own structure. I would rather have a £27,000 course, give them at least a little bit of structure. But it is what it is. And as I said, I hope I've helped you guys out. Please drop any comments for questions and DM me on Instagram for more video ideas or whatever it is you want to say. And here is my awkward goodbye.